All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do Ghost Rider Annual, issue number 1 from 1993. $3. $3. This is 64 pages. I'm not doing the whole 64. I'm not just doing this. So I stumbled accidentally because I was browsing for comic books, right? Where I'm doing that daily. And I stumbled on this cover and I said, oh, wait a minute. I have this. And I decided to look it up in my comic boxes full with comics. And yeah, I just got it. So, and sometimes I just read it and I thought, yeah, this is pretty forgettable. And it's exactly what it is. It came in some kind of a poly bag. And then there's also this, back in the day, we have a lot of these throwaway villains, night terrors. And they came, with the poly bag that you can open it up. And then there's a little bit of bio, what this character is called Carl Blake, going over what he is while he's a vampire. And so yeah, and like I said, sometimes it's just fine to have a book you're gonna read in, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so, and that's that. And you put it away, you probably never look at it again. I've read this before, but I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just check it out, but then for everyone, right? I also forgot that a lot of good artists. I mean, Chris Bachalo, or is it Bachalo? I'm not sure how you say it. He did a lot of work for Marvel and DC. Great artist, by the way. Howard Mackie, great writer. I mean, he was a great writer. And you can still, because I get into the Ghost Rider comics back in the day with Howard Mackie as a writer. I loved it. But, wait a minute, I forget. Just give me a second. Howard Mackie was also involved in basically the return of the Ghost Rider, and he did this, and it was utter trash. Now look at this great cover. It's by why am I blanking? Let me double check. This is embarrassing. I mean, he's I got books of him. Yeah. Well, oh yeah, Kyle Hotz. Kyle Hotz, right? This book, garbage. Writing is garbage. Yes, it has better colors, but I did a video about this. This is an embarrassing for the Vengeance character. Looks crap, by the way. Anyway, why am I talking about this? Get out of here. So we're talking about this. This throwaway villain, and his name is Night Terror. So we start here with, somewhere in New York City. I'm gonna say the art is pretty dark, and dark is mere like it's a lot of black, right? Probably because of Mark Buckingham. I could be wrong, or the colorist. Maybe both. I don't know. But they robbed some punks here. They're robbing some guy, and then out of the shadows comes a creature, and he's attacking those punks, right? And he drains their blood. He doesn't really know who he is or where he comes from. He's a little bit confused at how he get these powers and why. I don't know. He feels something hot in his body, but he doesn't feel pain. The bullets. And so he kills this guy. His hunger is sated. And then, he grabs this guy's coat and glasses and then disappears in the night, right? And then we have Danny Ketch riding with, I don't know, a woman? I cannot remember her. Maybe she was from the main series. Not sure, but she's a seer and friend of Caretaker. The Caretaker and the Spirits of Vengeance, especially the medallion. The medallion on this bike, by the way, was a big part of the, Spirits of Vengeance mythology or lore. When he touched the medallion on his bike, he will transform into the Ghost Rider. But the series, sensing something, and she says, you're needed here. And she said, you do your, and I'm going to see you later. And Danny is a little bit surprised that he actually is doing what she says, although they just met or something. He's getting attacked by What's his name again? Night Terror. And so he cannot transform right away. So he says he's strong, not human. Lilin was some kind of a demonic force entity. Well, not an entity, but a group of demons, right? That was part of the Ghost Rider villain stable, I guess. Was a good storyline, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, he bites him. And it seems that Night Terror can also not only drain blood, but also the memories of his victims. And it looks cool. And I mean, Chris Bachalo has a very unique kind of style. And he sees exactly what little bit happened in the past with the Ghost Rider, with the medallion, the Death Watch is a villain, demons, right? And he says, what are you? He says, Night Terror. He says, I'm the Ghost Rider. He says, if you are of Lilith's blood, so Lilith was, part of the, again, villain. So I believe this story bleeds into the main storyline, but it's not really related or was important. And he says, then you dead if you are human. My penance there will cause you the unending agony you have inflicted on others. I think that was a cool power that Ghost Rider has. He's incredibly strong and resilient. Of course, he has the Hellfire. And also, he can do way more stuff, by the way. He says, but the creature says, I don't know who or what I am. If you are not food and you have not answers about my identity, I have no time for you. And he's dispatching the rider. The rider, of course, stands up and throws, his chains that turns into shurikens, blows up this part of the forest, and he's gone. He says, I not again, I must ride into the night. He's also dramatic, right? Meanwhile, Night Terror is just fleeing, and it seems that he's now trying to figure out what he exactly is, but he's not human anymore, right? But then he says, if I'm not human, that thing definitely isn't anything vaguely resembling anyone I have ever known. Spirit of vengeance, innocent blood, Dan Zaratos, absorb memories of my victims with each feeding. Their memories are clearer than my own. My own remain just out of grasp, eluding me, gnawing at me like the bloodthirst. I don't want to fight that thing. I want answers. But the writer also wants answers, right? So he's basically in this state of this particular time. He's just looking, Dan Ketch I'm talking about, and also the writer, they're separate entities, who they are, where they come from, because it's all a blur, right? I mean, especially the Ghost Rider that is inhabiting the body of Danny Ketch. So he goes to this crowded place because he seeks Night Terror, and but people are panicking, right? He's taking this woman, biting her, not killing her, but just biting her just enough, and then he sees a door, and remembers this door. He's here before, so he goes in. Well, the rider is confused why the cops and the people are still, or especially the people are still afraid of him. And then the cops are coming, right? And then the seer that comes out of nowhere, I wonder what her deal is. He says, hey, your man went that way, guiding the rider into that direction, right? So Night Terror, although his name is not Night Terror right now, but later on, but since I have this card, I know who he is. He rips it open, looks good, and he goes down, and there is memories. And there's people are watching him, right? And they say, it's Carl Blake. We weren't fast enough, people. Night Terror is back. All right, security is notified, but then they also see that the Ghost Rider is here, right? Oops, ads. So yeah, Night Stalker is roaming the dark corridors, right? And he knows that the memories that he's seeking is just around the corner. And then he sees a security team, right? And they're wearing infrared goggles. And he remembers that, They move with stealth, well-trained. Even the strategies stir up memories. And there is a spatter of blood, and he has killed them. He turns around, sees the Ghost Rider. And the Ghost Rider is not happy. You have bathed yourself in the blood of these men. So he wants to have vengeance, right? But it seems that Night Terror's eyes are very sensitive. It's burning. He said, the painless only begun vampire. I shadow your body fist with my hands and then with your mind. And then your mind with my penance there. I love it. This Ghost Rider is real, it's badass. That's why I read these books back in the day. Again, cool art by Chris Bachalo is a very unique way of storytelling, a cool visualization of him turning into mist. Cool perspective that he's warping, basically, and he's going into these vents. And then he comes into this particular room. And so these guys says that the self-destruct has been enabled, right? Or initiated. And there's also a gas leak, But then Blake is here and people shooting in, and it's, of course, they cannot do nothing about it. So he says, no, Blake, don't do it. I tell whatever you want. Of course you will. But my way is so much more satisfying, right? But then Ghost Rider comes in, right? But he's too late. It seems this is some kind of a CIA shadow organization, don't know which government, but presumably CIA, right? He say, I don't care, but he just needs the knowledge, right? And he is called Night Terror. He was a fully sanctioned government assassin, freelance, right? And he says that the Ghost Rider and him are not so different. Both driven by the need to obtain answers regarding the nature of our existence, he says. I guess, even though we hardly qualify as human, we share that need with them as well. Only we have the power to obtain the answers. So he says, now if you would be so kind to step aside. Ghost Rider, of course, doesn't do that. He says, we are different. You claim to be driven by memories, but your bloodlust is all that drives you. This woman won't be another of your victims. Your power is not that great. I like that. He's basically calling him weak, right? But Night Terror says it doesn't matter. I will have her eventually. But the woman here says, no, I know it all. Okay, you know it all. This was just an intelligence station. You did a few wet jobs for us. One of the last one, you just disappeared. And they picked him up a year later and had become a vampire. And they were testing his powers, but he went wild and escaped. And half of the security team was killed. We were closing down shop when you came back. That was 2 nights ago. See, she and those she serves hold all the key to all my memories. But even in the face of death, she lies, holds back secrets. I must know more. I must know where my last mission was. And he says, you too search for answers to your beginnings. Wouldn't you do the same if it were as easy as sipping an espresso from a porcelain cup? Well, he says, not if it's taking a human life. He says, well, I guess we are different, he says. All right, so he wants to, grab this girl. But then the Ghost Rider comes in. And, he's turning his chain into some kind of a stake, because he can do that. He says, oh, really? Have you decided that I'm not human and deserve death at your hands? How judgmental. Your actions condemn you. I cannot allow you to kill again. He says, why? All I wanted was answers. No, you wanted much more, says the writer. So it seems that the place is going to blow up, and also the gas. And he says, we can't get out. Yes, we can. But then when they are escaping, the terror says, I'm a vampire. You cannot kill me. You said it yourself. I'll find out where I came from. I'm coming for you all. Answers in blood. They both mine. And then, I guess because of the hellfire of his bike, the whole thing blows up, right? And then this woman just runs away, and then we have the seer, right? So what would you do to find out all the answers to the questions you've been asking? How do you know that? Who are you, by the way? Maybe because she is a seer. Ghost Rider says, I don't know. None of us do until we are confronted by the possibility of actually getting them. Here, take this. You need it. You don't think you really killed him, do you? Let's go. You can worry about him some other time. right now we got bigger things coming up. And then we see a mist form of course, Night Terror. And that is the end of the book. Well, at the end of this particular storyline, he's now going into another one that I'm not going to really review or talk about. But let's say he's looking for more answers. This looks good, by the way, right? He has some kind of a adversary. He's basically his partner in crime. They know each other. They fight each other. This guy has superpowers. He's draining the life out of him. And now he's also liking people with superpowers. So he can never go back, according to him, to just draining blood. He needs to just, drain the blood of people with superpowers. But this guy's still alive. And that is this particular story. We have some cool pinups with Johnny Blaze here and the writer, and some kind of another throwaway villain. Yeah. Okay. And then basically the end of the book. But so overall, like I said, it's just a fun, cute. Well, not cute. It's a fun story. About some could be interesting villain. Unfortunately, I know that he has 3 appearances. One is in the Blade solo books, also from the 90s, and somewhere else I don't remember. But to this day, we really still don't know who turned this guy into a vampire. Now, the reason that I'm assuming why, because Howard Mackie and Chris Bachalo created Night Terror, and they do nothing with him, or maybe Marvel did nothing with him, because Ghost Rider has already a vampire villain from his past. I believe he mentions him also, but I could be wrong. Let me see if he's human villain, vampires, Blackout. Yeah, so there's a vampire called Blackout, and yeah, maybe because this is just a regular vampire that can do the vampire stuff, except that he is also can drain the memories. But that's about it, right? So yeah, he could be a nice, like I said, throwaway villain into the Ghost Rider stable, that he can fight once in a while or even kill him. But like I said, they mostly do this stuff to hope that they kick off some kind of a new super villain or superhero for in the Marvel Universe. God, I hate that word, Marvel Universe. But yeah, mostly, or I believe all of these one-shots with these villains never work out. Yeah, but for a couple of minutes, for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, reading this annual, pretty fun, And that's, that's my video. Hope you like it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave a like. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.